No is not an option started the day my mother convinced me that I was smart. And it wasn't, baby, you smart. It was, I had done something that impressed her. This is a woman that I looked up to. One day my mother came up the driveway, and every day she would pull in that gate. My dog Spot, who was a Dalmatian, he'd be on one side of the car and I'd be on the other. And it was like I had not seen her for 20 years. And she would pull that Kingswood Estate in, and we would run up beside her all the way up to the garage. And this one day she got out and I got on my knees and I told her about a word that I learned over at Briar Hill. It's the elementary school I went to. And I got on my knees and I said, Mama, hello, Mama, holding Spot's lips so acting like he could talk. And I said, hello, Mama, hello, Mama, hi, hi. And she said, what are you trying to get that dog to do? I said, that's called personification. She just went like this. I said, did I say something wrong, Mama? She said, baby, where'd you get that? I said, that's what they taught today at school. They told us about personifications, when you can throw your voice into somebody else or even an animal. She just went like this. I said, there's something wrong with that, Mom? She said, baby, you're just so smart. She said, those Kennedy boys, they went to Harvard, but you're going to go to Hyde. And I did not know what Hyde was all about. That's Howard University. And she said, when you go to Hyde, Hyde University is where everybody that's black, that's doing anything in the world goes. When you go there, you learn how to come out of there and you can straighten your back out and look people on the eye, and you can tell people what you need to do to get things done. And you can change things. Look at Thurgood Marshall and Patricia Harris and Andrew Young and Vernon Jordan. That's where they went to school. When Mom was telling me all that, I didn't even know those people, but she was talking with such faith about these examples that I said, I just can't wait to learn about these people. And I started learning more about them than even about Howard. Well, when I was in the 11th grade, she helped me to get my application ready. And all I knew was I'm going to go to Hyde. I'm going to go to Hyde. I'm going to be like Thurgood Marshall. And I had a cousin named Stanley that he was doing well too. He was at Howard. He'd already met this beautiful woman named Paula Wright from Atlanta. She's a lawyer and he's a doctor. I said, I can't wait to be successful like them, like what Mama wants me to do. So we submitted the application, got everything all turned in. She said, baby, you got it made. You on your way. So we put it in the mailbox. About 60 days went by, and all of a sudden we came back from a big trip from seeing one of my aunts in Cincinnati. I would always jump out of the car and I ran to the mailbox. I was waiting on that letter from Howard. And I looked in there and I said, Mama, we got a letter from Howard. We got a letter from Howard. I jumped in the car. We drove all the way up the driveway. We got out. She said, let's go in and read this. She was so happy. And this was going to be my getaway plan. I opened the letter up, and unfortunately it said from the Department of Admissions, we've read your application, but unfortunately, it does not meet the requirements on the standardized test in reading and math. And at this point, we have to, unfortunately, inform you that your application has not been accepted. I was really down. Probably the worst day of my life. My father said, you know what, don't worry, because my mother was going into convulsions. She just kept saying, they ain't not going to get away with this. They don't know what my son is all about. Those people are ignorant. Who do they think they are? My son's going to go to Howard University and change the world. He's smart. He ain't slow. Some of these people around here think he might be, but he's not. And I said, well, what are you going to do, Mom? She said, I'm writing a letter to that president. They don't know what they've done. And my father said, Cleo, give it a break. My mother said, they don't know what they've done. I'm writing a letter to that president. I said, Mama, what is that going to do? Everybody writes a letter. She said, I'm going to write it. And that night, after she fed us and put our food away and plates away, cleaned the kitchen, we all were going to sleep, and she was sitting in there at the kitchen table writing this letter. And I see it right now in my mind right now, seeing her. And she stayed in there and the light was on. She was in there a long time. I kept waking up in my bed and the light was still on. And it was late. And then all of a sudden I heard the switch clicked off. And all I know is the next morning when I woke up, she always had my breakfast prepared when I came out of the shower. And when I came out that morning, I had my regular breakfast in this long envelope. I don't know where we didn't have email. There was no website to go to find out, well, who is the president? How do you get the address? No Google. You can't go to MapQuest and say Howard University. Oh, okay, 3200 7th Avenue. I don't know how she did it, but just with their app, what that letter had, she put it in there and she wrote that letter and it was sitting right beside my plate of food for breakfast. And she said, put that letter in the mailbox down there on the road when you go to get on that bus this morning. And I said, what's that for, Mom? She said, I told you I was writing that letter. And I wrote it to that president, that man, they call him James Cheek. I said, Mom, this is not going to work. She said, I told you to put that letter in the mailbox. Make sure you raise the flag to make sure that mailman knows there's something in there so that he doesn't just leave it. All right. All I can say is yes, ma'am. I went on down to get on the bus. And before I got on the bus with my backpack, I put that letter in the mailbox and raised the flag like Mama told me to. About 48 days went by and I reached in there and all of a sudden this new letter from Howard. And I said, they can't be sending me a letter twice. So I didn't even open it up while I was down on the road. And I just took off running up to the house and I ran and I said, Mama, we got a new letter from Howard. She said, sit down. Let me sit down, baby. Take your time, open that letter from Mama. She just opened that letter up and just read it. Dr. James Cheek, President. I just looked down at the bottom. It said from James Cheek. And I looked back up at the top and it said on the first paragraph, good news. It said, congratulations, Mrs. Coleman. We've received your letter and we have responded and have asked the university to overturn the decision and to allow your son, James, to be able to attend effective this coming semester. And he will begin his college experience at Howard University on August the 28th, 1978. And he will also be in the Center for Academic Reinforcement to ensure that he is successful. Sincerely, James E. Cheek. Man, my mother went into convulsions again. She was talking in tongues. I knew it. And all I knew is I was headed to Howard University, but it was a part in there that I still didn't like, which was that part about Center for Academic Reinforcement. I said, Mama, what's that all about? She said, baby, they just want to put you in there just to make sure you're successful. I said, I don't want to be in a program like that. And she said, you don't need to worry about that. She said, I'm going to take you to UK this summer and I'll work with you and we'll get an A. And then when you start this semester, you just hand that to this lady. They don't know how smart you are. And she said, you're going to get an A this summer. And you just show them that transcript. They're going to say, don't even worry about it. I worked hard that summer and we worked together and I got an A at UK in English 101. And along with getting packed up and all my little bit of things that my parents were able to buy, my hush puppies, my little blue jeans, and my father got me a certified check to pay for all 4 years, I was on my way. And with that transcript, when I got over to the admissions, they had me down for car. And they looked at it and I said, I'm here, but my mother told me I might not have to go in the car. And they said, well, right now you signed up for car. And I said, my mother said that I don't need a car. They said, based on what we looking at your ID and you in car. I said, my mother said I don't need car. And they said, how does she know? And I just reached in my backpack and I showed them that. Here, she told me to hand y'all this transcript. And they looked at the transcript and the lady, she had half class. She said, you don't need to be in no car. You need to be in second semester English. You don't need to be in car. I'm telling you right now, that's when I realized, no, it's not an option. You don't have to accept no. You do not have to accept no. You don't have to accept car. You don't have to sit on the back. You can just stay focused and not accept no and still get in. Here I am. I was a reject, a college reject from Howard. And 4 years after I was able to graduate, Dr. James Cheek, who overturned the decision to be able to get me in Howard, awarded me who's who of American students at Howard University. Because my mother did not accept no, and no had never been an option for her. She ain't gone. I'm gonna see her again. She ain't gone nowhere. This ain't memory. This is in honor of Cupcakes. And it's in honor of all the other cupcakes out there who haven't given up on their children and who love their children and don't accept no. That's who it's in honor of. No is not an option. That's the way Cupcakes ran her whole life. No is not. If she said no, I wouldn't be anything. I wouldn't be anything if she accepted no. She wouldn't be who she was. She went back to get her master's degree in social work when she was 48 with 5 kids, a crazy husband, and 30 head of cattle. You put that mother in there of that brainwashing, they'll become president.